That's not good.
Oh, I don't need this. I'm already late.
Somebody will come. Anybody out there?
Do you have a phone?
No. Sorry. Somebody! Hello? There are two people stuck on an escalator and we need help. Now, would somebody please do something? I don't believe this. You gotta be kidding me.
I'm gonna cry.
Well, there's nothing else left to do. That's it.
Hello? Hey, don't worry about it. I'll fix it in a second.
He said he could fix it. All right. All right. That's more like it. He says he can fix it.
Isn't it amazing how many people are stuck on an escalator? And if you and I are not careful, we get to the point where we forget the importance of change. We don't think we can change. And we kind of are like people on an escalator, hoping that something is going to change and something is going to get better. On the first day God created the cow, he said to the cow, I want you to work under the sun, give milk, have calves, support the farmer, I'll give you a lifespan of 60 years. Cow said to work under the hot sun, give milk, have calves, support the farmer for 60 years. Sounds kind of tough. I'll do it for 40, give back 20, and God agreed. On the second day, God created the dog. He said, I want you to sit on the porch and bark at anybody and everybody that comes in or walks by. I'll give you a lifespan of 20 years. Dog said to sit on the porch and bark at anybody and everybody that comes in or walks by for 20 years. I don't think so. I'll do it for 10, give back 10, and God agreed. On the third day, God created the monkey. He said, I want you to do crazy, foolish, stupid kinds of things, just make people laugh. I'll give you a lifespan of 20 years. Monkey said to do crazy, foolish, stupid kinds of things for 20 years. Doesn't sound very cool. I'll do it for 10, give back 10, and God agreed. On the fourth day, God created man. He said, I want you to eat, sleep, play, enjoy, do nothing. Just eat, sleep, play, enjoy, do nothing. I'll give you a lifespan of 20 years. Man said to eat, sleep, play, enjoy, and do nothing for only 20 years really isn't long enough. Cow gave back, dog gave back, monkey gave back. I'll take what they gave back, add it to my 20, which will equal 80, and God agreed. That's why, my friends, for the first 20 years of our lives, we eat, sleep, play, enjoy, and do nothing. The next 40 years of our lives, we slave under the sun to support our families. The next 10 years of our lives, we do monkey tricks to make our grandchildren laugh. And the last 10 years of our life, we sit on the porch and bark at anybody and everybody that comes in or walks by. And if you and I are not careful, we just kind of go through life barking to the point that we feel like we're on an escalator, we feel like we can't take that next step, and we can't change. And today, for a few minutes, I want to begin our time together with a simple little thought. When you're through changing, you're through. And it's important for us to understand that if we're not careful, we kind of get bored. So what happens when farm boys get bored? It's amazing what they can do and what they can come up with, because sometimes we're trying to do these kinds of things to the point that we lose our perspective, we lose our focus, and we're just kind of bored with life. One of the reasons is because we're not open to change, we're not willing to try new ideas and do things differently, to the point that we can lose our perspective, lose our focus, and in the process of that, life isn't much fun, farming isn't much fun, and you and I need to be reminded of the importance of change. Every once in a while you get up and say, you know what, it's just not going to be the best day of my life. To the point that we kind of start focusing on the bad, and we forget that there's just going to be some times things aren't going to go very well, to the point that we lose our perspective and we lose our focus. Guess what? If we're not careful, that's where our focus is. It's on the bad, it's on the things that haven't gone very well, to the point that we lose our perspective and we lose our focus. But every once in a while, you're going to have a bad day. There's some times that you just need to laugh. One of the things that I do as a hobby is I collect mistakes from church bulletins. I want to share some of those with you. I was at the Peabody Hotel in Memphis, Tennessee, and this sign was in the bathroom at the Peabody Hotel in Memphis, Tennessee, which doesn't quite fit the Peabody Hotel. Don't let worry kill you off, let the church help. For those of you who have children and don't know it, we have a nursery downstairs. The peacemaking meeting scheduled for today has been canceled due to a conflict. A bean supper will be held on Tuesday evening in the church hall. Music will follow. The rosebud on the altar this morning has announced the birth of David Allen Belzer, the son of Reverend and Mrs. Julius Belzer. Ladies of the altar and rosary voted at their last meeting to paint the basement hall of the parish hall nude. Volunteers be needed, time and place to be announced. Not everyone who enters this church has been converted, so please watch your handbags and wallets. On Sunday, a special collection will be taken to defray the expenses of new carpet. All those wishing to do something on the new carpet, come forward and get a piece of paper. This afternoon, there will be a meeting in the south and north ends of the church. Children baptized at both ends. The ladies of the church have cast off clothing of every kind, and they may be seen in the church basement on Friday afternoon. Tuesday at 4 p.m. there will be an ice cream social. All ladies giving milk, please come early. Thursday at 5 p.m. there will be a meeting in the Little Mothers Club. All those wishing to become Little Mothers, please meet the minister in his study. Potluck supper, prayer, and medication to follow. The services will close with little drops of water while the ladies will start quietly and the rest of the congregation will join in. This being Easter Sunday, we'll ask Mrs. Johnson to come forward and lay an egg on the altar. Remember in prayer the many who are sick of our church and community. Ushers will eat latecomers. The 8th graders will be presenting Shakespeare's Hamlet in the church basement on Friday at 7 p.m. The congregation is invited to attend this tragedy. 8 new choir robes are currently needed due to the addition of several new members and to the deterioration of some of the older ones. Weight Watchers will meet at 7 p.m. Please use the large double doors at the side entrance. This was on a marquee. How much should a Christian drink? Music by a full choir. This was on a marquee. You don't want to know what hell is like? Come in and hear the choir. This was in a bulletin. The sermon this morning, Jesus walks on water. The sermon tonight, searching for Jesus. Irving Benson and Jesse Carter were married October the 24th in the church. So ends a friendship that began in their school days. Next Sunday is the family high rate and bonfire at the Fowlers. Bring your own hot dogs and guns. Friends are welcome. Our youth basketball team is back in action Wednesday at 8 p.m. in the recreational hall. Come out and watch us kill Christ the King. Associate Minister unveiled the new church's tithing campaign slogan last Sunday. I up my pledge, up yours. Bertha Belch, a missionary from Africa, will be speaking tonight at Calvary Memorial Church in Racine. Come tonight and hear Bertha Belch all the way from Africa. If you and I are not careful, we get to the point where we stop laughing. And one of the challenges that we have you noticed that farming and ag has changed? And you know that it's going to continue to change? And if we're not careful, we start looking at the bad, we start looking at the obstacles, we start looking at all of those things that are labeled bad to the point that we forget about the opportunities and we feel like we're just kind of stuck on an escalator. There's no place to go. But today and in this conference, I want to encourage all of us to be the kind of ag leaders that take the next step and understand the importance of change and work together to make it happen. You take a calculator and you multiply 3 times 3 times 3 times 3, it equals 243. You add one number to that and you multiply 4 times 4 times 4 times 4, and 5 times, it equals 1,024. There's an over 400% increase. If you will take what you learned and just improve it 1 point from going from a 3 to a 4, that's an over 400% increase. So make it your goal in the next 2 days that you're going to find those little 1 points that you can change, those little things that are going to make a difference in what you do and in how you do it. I want to just suggest 5 areas that we can improve 1 point. Now, in your notebooks, on page 20 is the handout that we're going to start here in a minute. And I want to encourage you to get there. One of the things that I know about us guys is we don't like to take notes. But there's an opportunity for you to take some notes. When you see it, hear it, read it, and write it, you get it better. And I really want to encourage us, because what I'm going to teach you this morning is a strategy for change that you can use in your business, in your life, in your family, and use anywhere and everywhere that will make a huge difference. If we improve our attitude 1 point, it will make a difference. Creativity, which is knowing how to think. Start challenging your mind the next couple days. What can I do to change my thinking? What can I do to be a little more creative? Vision, knowing how to see. Nobody in this room has reached their potential. In fact, I want everybody to stand up and raise your hand as high as you can. Would you do that for me a minute? Just stand up, raise your hand as high as you can. Now, what I want you to do is raise your hand higher. You may sit down. What does that have to do with anything? Nothing. Except for the simple fact that I asked you to raise your hand as high as you can, and when I asked you to raise your hand higher, you did it. What does that mean? Nobody in this room has reached their potential. And when you and I start seeing a bigger vision, when you and I start seeing things a little differently, we're going to be able not only to raise our hands higher, but to do some amazing things. Number 4 is direction, which is knowing how to begin, and responsibility, which is knowing how to finish. Here's the facts. When you're through changing, you're through. And it's amazing to me how you and I, if we're not careful, look at change. Now we're to your notes on page 20. Anytime there's a blank line, there's a word to add to it, and I want to encourage you to do that. Fiction number 1, it will soon pass. It will soon pass. The fact is, change is here to stay. Number 2, I can just stay the way I am. I can just stay the way I am. The fact is, if the organization or the culture or the business is changing, you better change with it. And yet there's people that honestly believe I can just stay the way I am. Number 3, change causes problems, and problems are bad. Man had a good friend starting a new business. He went to the floral shop. He said to the florist, "My best friend's starting a new business. I want you to send him a bouquet of flowers with a card on it that says, 'Good luck in your new location.'" He goes down to his best friend's new business. There's a funeral spray that says, "May you rest in peace." He apologized to his friend. He said, "That isn't at all what I ordered." He leaves. He calls the florist. He says, "What in the world are you doing? I asked you to send my best friend who's starting a new business a bouquet of flowers with a card on it that says, 'Good luck in your new location.' There's a funeral spray that says, 'May you rest in peace.'" The florist said, "I'm sorry, it's my fault. You don't have to pay for the flowers. But if you think you've got a problem, you need to think about me. Someplace in this town is a funeral home with a bouquet of flowers with a card on it that says, 'Good luck in your new location.'" We're going to make mistakes. Problems are a natural process of thorough change. Anytime you change anything that you are doing on the farm, you're going to have problems. Anytime you change technology, you are going to have problems. It is a natural process of thorough change. Now, I come from the frame of mind that believes that you should unite us and the creativity should be flowing more than in times when there aren't problems, but it's important that you and I understand there's 2 ways to look at change. Change creates negativism towards my career. The fact is, growth is always found in challenges. Getting mad, getting even makes you handle change better. There's people that honestly believe that I'll just get mad, I'll get even, and they think you can handle change. The fact is, controlled emotions mean you're in control. What do uncontrolled emotions waste? Anybody? Energy. What else? Time. Resources. Relationships. And it's so important for us right now in the work that we do is to stay in control. People over us don't care about us. I served as president of a college for 9 years. One day a man calls up and says, "I want to talk to the big hog at the trough." My secretary said, pardon me? He said, I want to talk to the big hog at the trough. She goes, sir, we don't talk that way around here, and I think I know who you want to talk to. You change your terminology, I'll put you through. If not, you're not talking to him. He said, I want to talk to the big hog. She said, sir, he is a little overweight, but we don't call him that. You call him Mr. Siemens, President Siemens, or Steve, I'll put you through. If not, you're not talking to him. He said, I want to talk to the big hog. She said, sir, you're not listening to me. He said, no, you're not listening to me. He said, I'm a pig farmer out here in Northwest Iowa, just sold my hogs, want to give $100,000 to the college. She said, just a minute, the big pig just walked in. So I didn't get much respect, but you know what? I had that all the time when I was at the college. When I was president of Qantas International, I had all that all the time. He doesn't care about us. The fact is, tough decisions don't please everyone or make the management popular. What I do doesn't affect anyone. What I do doesn't affect anyone. Folks, you're either a part of the problem or you're a part of the solution. And what I'm wanting us to see for a few minutes is there's two ways to view change. These changes were not necessary. And the fact is, what's necessary right now is to make things work. I'm amazed at the number of people that just continually talk about changes, especially in the corporate arena, where they have to make a change, they have to do things differently, and they just have this attitude, you know what, these changes were not necessary, when in reality, they have to make them work. And what I want to encourage us, as people that have a very, very important mission in life, people that have a very, very important purpose in life, to understand that you and I need to be those leaders in the change movement. Continually opening ourselves to be willing to take that next step, to get off that escalator, and to stop thinking small, and to stop thinking present, to start looking to the future and see what we can become, and then changing so that we can do it. Number 9, they don't know what they're doing. They don't know what they're doing. The fact is, who does? They're not afraid to make mistakes. And number 10, there's something they are not telling us. The fact is this, you don't always know, so why act like it? What I want us to think about is this. There's a fictional and a factual side to change. Now, before we did this, which was very, very quick, how many of you have thought of two sides of change? A fictional and a factual side of change. How many have thought of two sides of change? All right, a few hands. What's interesting to me is I've never had more than 6 or 7 hands go up, regardless of the size of the group that I'm speaking for. That's not a criticism, but that just is interesting to me. Now let me ask you a question. Where do we spend most of our time? On the fictional or factual side of change? The fictional. And if we're going to be leaders in ag, and if we're going to be leaders in no-till, if we're going to be leaders in cover crops, we are going to be the people that stay on the factual side of change. And the reason why I'm giving you my notes is because I want you to take this stuff and start thinking about this and teaching it to others and modeling it for others, because the bottom line is change is not an option. It's important to understand that you and I go through change. There's 4 stages of life. Stage number 1, you believe in Santa Claus. Number 2, you don't believe in Santa Claus. Number 3, you are Santa Claus. And number 4, you look like Santa Claus. You and I are constantly changing. Let's give me some facts about change, and then I'm going to teach you a strategy for change. Number 1, change is not new. You know that, and I know that. It's not new. Number 2, change is not an option in the life of a leader. It's inevitable, it's healthy, and it's necessary. And it's not an option. And I believe that every person in this room is a leader. When I do school in-services, I ask all of the teachers to stand up. And when I have the whole school system together, all of the classroom teachers stand up, the secretaries, the cooks, the bus drivers, the maintenance people, they all stay seated. No, if you didn't understand it, I'd ask them to sit down. I want all of the teachers to stand up. Classroom teachers stand up again, everybody else sits. About after the third time, they start picking up from what I'm thinking. Every person in that room is a teacher. Every person in this room is a leader. Change is not an option. And when you and I start thinking like a leader, and we start operating like a leader, and we start working like a leader, we're going to understand the importance of change. Change comes in different packages. It's not all going to look the same. It's not all going to be the same. It comes in different packages. Change brings with it temporary stress. And I underline the word temporary. There's going to be temporary stress anytime you change. Change creates many different responses. A leader can retreat from change and deny it. A leader can resist change and delay it. A leader can rebel against change and fight it. A leader can run from change and avoid it. Or a leader can receive change and grow from it. Different responses. Change carries with it a price tag. Put this up here in your board of directors. Anything that costs nothing accomplishes nothing. Anything that costs nothing accomplishes nothing. And there will be a price tag. Change in people come when there's a change in the leader. How many of you can name somebody you don't know? All right, now be careful. You can name somebody you haven't met, but you can't name somebody you don't know. And people around us are not going to go anywhere where we haven't been ourselves. And it's so important that you understand change comes in people when there's a change in the leader. Change is a lifestyle. It is a lifestyle. So how do we change? There's some characteristics of leaders that are ready to change, and I apologize because this is going to be the smallest font that I'm going to use, but they're self-confident. They're self-motivated. They're flexible. They keep their sense of humor. You know the characteristics. You can fill in the blanks. They simplify change. They make it as simple as they can. They're open-minded. I have people all the time saying to me, well, how do you define success? I'm just a little farm kid from Iowa that gets to do what I wanted to do ever since 7th grade. I'd be out cultivating corn, giving seminars, because someday I was going to be a professional speaker, and when I was old and wise, become president of a college. It happened just the exact opposite. Became president of a college in 1980, served in that capacity for 9 years. I couldn't do both, so I resigned and started doing this full time and have never ever looked back. But I would be out cultivating corn, giving speeches. Why? Corn has ears. And I would be out there just talking away, giving that speech, because someday I was going to speak. And I have people all the time saying to me, well, how do you define success? Well, the little country kid makes a simple definition of success. At age 4, it's not peeing in your pants. At age 12, it's having friends. 16, it's having a driver's license. 20, it's believing you are sexy. 35, it's having money. 50, it's having money. 60, it's believing you are sexy. 70, it's having a driver's license. 75, it's having friends, and 80, it's not peeing in your pants. So keep that in mind as you define success. But it's important that you and I are always striving for success. And isn't it amazing how we do some of the dumbest things at times instead of just changing and doing those kinds of things and what we need to do? It's going to require us to think differently. It's going to require us to change. And if we're not careful, we get to the point where we start thinking differently and we guide this mindset where we're just doing these, quote, crazy things in the point to the fact that we lose our perspective and we lose our focus. It's important that you and I are open to change. Not stupidity, change. So what I'm going to teach you right now is a strategy for change. We're going to go back to school for a minute. And I'm going to ask you to do some rote learning. And rote learning is where you're going to repeat after me. And if you will spend some time with me in the next few minutes, by the time we're done, you will have memorized and learned this strategy for change that will make a huge difference in every area of your life. Now, I'm just going to tell you this is worth $7 million. And the reason it's worth $7 million is because several years ago I worked with a company and we created this strategy in every employee and their bottom line went up $7 million. It's not rocket science, it's common sense. But it works. And if you'll stay with me, we're going to talk about a strategy of change that you can use. You don't have to use my strategy, but the reason people don't change is because they don't use a strategy. Man read a newspaper ad that said 7-day cruise for $14.95. He called up the travel agency. He said, I see that you're offering a 7-day cruise for $14.95. There's got to be a mistake. Travel agent said, no, there's no mistake. We're offering a 7-day cruise for $14.95. So he went down to the travel agency, wrote out a check for $14.95, handed it to the travel agent. Travel agent took out a hammer, hit him in the head. He woke up the next day tied to a log floating down the river. He was mad, he was embarrassed, he thought, how foolish could I be? But here he is tied to a log floating down the river. The next day decided he ought to enjoy it, so he started looking at the scenery. He had a wonderful time. In fact, he had the time of his life. He woke up bright and early the next morning, floating down the river, was having a wonderful time, when he floated up alongside another log with a man tied to it, and they started talking. He said, I wonder if they serve refreshments on this cruise. Guy said they did last year. And you know why we're not successful at times? Is because we're doing what we did last year. You know why we're not reaching our potential? Because we're thinking like we thought last year. You know why things are not happening as well and quickly and efficiently as they could? Is because we're farming like we farmed last year. So what's it going to take? It's going to take a strategy. It's going to take a strategy that will work. So, I want you to stay with me. I know there's lots of room between me and the back of the room, and hopefully you guys are being able to see everything that we're doing with the two screens. But I want us to think differently, but let's go through this strategy. When you change your thinking, you change your beliefs. Let's say it out loud together. When you change your thinking, you change your... All right, now that was good, but let's do it with just a tad more enthusiasm. Here we go, ready? When you change your thinking, you change your beliefs. It is so important that it starts with our thinking, because when you change your thinking, you change your beliefs. But it starts with how you think. Nothing is powerful as a thought. Now, this probably will not work because of the size of the room and the distance. But if you will take your hands and fold them and put your two index fingers straight in the air, put them about 1/8 of an inch apart from each other. 1/8 of an inch is not much of a gap. If you try to figure this out, it will not work. So don't try to figure it out. Take your fingers, put them about 1/8 of an inch apart. I want everybody just to look at your fingers. Just look at your fingers. Just think about that little gap. Just think about those fingers. And all I want you to do is think they're touching. And if you are truly thinking they're touching, they will go together every time. Now, if you have a lot on your mind, it's not going to work. If you're trying to figure it out, it's not going to work. There's nothing as powerful as a thought. And when you change your thinking, you change your beliefs. All right, from the beginning, here we go. Ready? When you change your thinking, you change your beliefs. But it starts with how we think. Because what we think creates beliefs. I think positively. I will always think positively. I will die positively. 95% of what you see, hear, and read every day is negative. But when you think positively, this allows us to look for the best and to receive the best. I think creatively. It allows me to find answers when other people quit looking. And I'm always going to think as creatively as possible. I think bottom line. This allows me to prioritize and get rid of busy work. And it's important that you and I think bottom line. I think practical. It allows me to apply principles to everyday life, and I think continually. This allows me to assimilate everyday experiences that are on the table. When you change your thinking, you change your beliefs. All right, let's say it together. When you change your thinking, you change. When you change your beliefs, you change your expectations. When you change your beliefs, you change your expectations. From the beginning, when you change your thinking, you change your... When you change your beliefs, you change your expectations. But it starts with how we think. Two things. Expectations. Change is possible. It's possible. And change is profitable. Not only is it possible, but it's also profitable. When you change your thinking, you change your... When you change your beliefs, you change your... When you change your expectations, you change your attitude. I want every person in this room to have the attitude of my mother-in-law's dog. My mother-in-law has a little dachshund dog that every time the doorbell rings, the dog goes nuts. Jump up and to the door. The doorbell could ring 87 times a day, and the dog will go nuts 87 times a day. Doorbell rings, dog jumping down, runs to the door. And what I've discovered in the last 14 years, the door's never been for him once. That is a positive attitude. And when you and I have that positive anticipation and that positive attitude, it makes all of the difference in the world. When you change your thinking, you change your... When you change your beliefs, you change your... When you change your expectations, you change your... And my friends, attitude is a choice. Now I fly anywhere from 200,000 to 400,000 miles a year all over the world speaking, and that means nothing more than lots of delays and lots of delayed baggage, and traveling is not fun. If you have somebody say to you that it's fun, they don't travel. But I was with a flight attendant who understood the value of enthusiasm, that attitude, and he took that little speech they do at the beginning and added just a little extra twist of enthusiasm, and his speech went like this. Folks, we're not anticipating a water landing today, but if we have one, take your seat, you paid for it. Which is totally different than your seat cushion serves as a floatable cushion in the event of a water landing. He said, folks, you can't smoke in the bathroom. If you go to the bathroom to smoke, please shake my hand because the bathroom will fall out of the plane, and I'll tell your family goodbye on your behalf when we land. I started listening to this speech. He said, folks, there might be 50 ways to leave a lover. There's only 4 ways to leave this airplane, and you best know which one is closest to you. Then he proceeded to say, if you do not know how to fasten a seatbelt, you shouldn't be in public by yourself. And he concluded the speech by saying, we're going to serve the same old airplane food we always serve. Shut up and eat it. At the end of that presentation, we applauded. I have never clapped at that speech before in my life. What was the difference? He did it with a little enthusiasm. He did it with a different attitude. When you get up in the morning and you have a different attitude, your day goes better. Yes or yes? Yes. You go to work with the right kind of attitude, it works better. Yes or yes? Yes. Don't make this hard. You do whatever you do with the right attitude, it works better. And it's important that you and I get that. And I'm not on a campaign, but I don't take a paper. I am not going to begin my day reading a newspaper. I'm not on a campaign. If you read it, great, that's fine. But the morning is the most productive part of my day, and I'm not going to begin it by filling it with all of the crap and all of the stuff and all the issues that are going on. If I ever read a newspaper, it's going to be at the end of the day when I'm least productive. And it's amazing to me how we let the weather affect our attitudes. And it's amazing to me how we let people affect our attitudes. And if we're going to get really serious about being leaders, when you change your thinking, you change your, and when you change your beliefs, you change your, and when you have different expectations, you have better attitudes. What do positive expectations produce? Excitement, conviction, desire, confidence, any word you want to put in there. Contagious enthusiasm, group commitment. You can put any word in there, any thought in there, and it'll be awesome. But it's important that you and I understand that. When you change your attitude, you change your behavior. From the beginning, when you change your thinking, you change your... Oh, how quickly we forget. Ready? When you change your thinking, you change your... When you change your beliefs, you change your... When you change your expectations, you change your... When you change your attitude, you change your behavior. You change your behavior. Now, I've been trying to illustrate this, and the best way that I can illustrate, whoever is the marketing coordinator for Nike is a master. It's a three-word phrase that changes a behavior. I don't feel like getting up and exercising. I got home late last night. It's raining outside. Whatever you want to put in there. 3 words. Just do it. It's a masterpiece. It's an attitude that changes a behavior. In my office, I have 3 words over my office door: whatever it takes. It's an attitude that changes a behavior. And when I walk out of my office, over my office manager's door is 3 more words: and then some. Whatever it takes, and then some. 3 words, a phrase that changes a behavior. My wife said to me last night, she said, "Steve, will you love me when my hair turns gray?" I said, "Well, I don't know why not. I've loved you through 10 other colors." But anyway, that's not a 3-word phrase that works. But anyway, when you change your thinking, you change your beliefs. When you change your beliefs, you change your... When you change your expectations, you change your... When you change your attitude, you change your... When you change your behavior, you change your performance. When you change your behavior, you change your performance. We wait for someone to change our circumstances. Or we wait for our circumstances to change our behavior. And my friends, my claim to fame is this. I'm not an ag expert. I have some expertise in leadership. I have some expertise in people relationship skills. But the bottom line is, I was asked to share this presentation because I believe, and the leadership believes, this is right where we are. Got to change. And my only claim to fame is that I won Grand Champion steers at the Powesheik County Fair in Iowa back in the 60s. Market hogs, the same. Went to the Kansas City Royal and won the Kansas City Royal one year. Was runner-up in the Denver Stock Show. Those are my only claims to fame, but those are pretty cool. And one of the things that just really makes me happy is our oldest grandson right now wants to be a farmer. And his daddy is in medical school becoming a doctor, and I mean, we don't have any way. And so I said to him, I said, "Ty, I said, if you're going to be a farmer, you better start dating a farmer's daughter." Well, guess what? He did. And he is. And guess what else? He's been working for another farmer. And I could drive up to Boone, Iowa, and take this man out to lunch, because here's what he said to my grandson. "Ty, I know you want to be a farmer, But I want you to understand something. If you're going to work for me, you're going to maintain at least a C plus or a B minus average in college. And you're going to finish. And if you don't, you're fired. Now I want to tell you that made this old grandpa do a happy dance. Because right now, that grandson who has this burning passion inside of him, the farm, would quit school in an instant, thinking, oh, I can just do this. And he probably could, but he needs the education and the knowledge. When you change your thinking, you change your beliefs. When you create different beliefs, you have better expectations. With better expectations, you have a more positive attitude. When you get up in the morning with a positive attitude, you work better or have better behaviors. And when you change your behaviors, you change your performance. And when you change your performance, you change your life. When you change your performance, you change your farming operation. When you change your performance, you change your family. I don't care what you put in there, whatever it is, it fits. And what we talked about today is not making cosmetic changes, but making permanent changes. And I want to spend just a minute showing you the difference. Cosmetic change, we change our talking instead of our thinking. A cosmetic change is we change our bylaws instead of our beliefs. A cosmetic change is we change our environment instead of our expectations. These are cosmetic changes. We change our appearance instead of our attitude. When I was in the college classroom, I used to teach a psychology class, and I used a textbook or a book written by Dr. Maltz, which was called Psycho-Cybernetics. And Dr. Maltz was a plastic surgeon in New York that changed all kinds of outside appearances, but nothing changed in the people. It's very fascinating. It's way time out of print, but if you ever find it in a library, it's worth the read. Or we change our resume instead of our performance. I'm nothing more than a farm kid from Iowa that gets to do what I want to do, and that's build people. And the bottom line is this: when you're through changing, you're through. This applies to all of us in this room. One of the things that I'm doing more as a speaker is standing in a television studio talking to audiences in California or talking to audiences in Canada. And not being there, not flying there, but I'm there with them in their conferences on a big screen. I can see them, they can see me. I can talk to them, they can talk to me. That's change. I don't like it yet because I feed off the audience. I want to see faces, I want to see people, and looking at a television camera isn't the same, but that's change. And what I want to do, and what I hope I did for us today, is to begin our time together asking us, where are some areas in your operation that you can improve 1%? And if you'll take it and improve it 1%, that's a 400% increase. And what can you do to raise it just a little bit higher so that you can reach greater potential this year in your operation and in what you're doing? Because the bottom line is, there's two ways to look at change. There's a fictional and a factual side of change. Stay on the factual side of change. Because when you change your thinking, you change your beliefs. And when you change your beliefs, you change your expectations. And when you change your expectations, you change your attitude. And when you change your attitude, you change your behavior. And when you change your behavior, you change your performance. And when you change your performance, you'll change your farming operation, you'll change your leadership, you'll change your family, you'll change any word that you put in there. But the fact is this: when you're through changing. You're through. Telephone rings and the voice on the other end of the phone says, "Is this Father O'Malley?" It is. "This is the IRS. Can you help us?" "I can." "Do you know a Ted Houlihan?" "I do." "Is he a member of your congregation?" "He is." "Did he donate $10,000 to your church?" "He will." And if every leader in this room will leave with a "we will" attitude and a commitment to change, which begins with our thinking, the absolute best is yet to come. Get off the escalator and take the first step to change.